friends! So welcome back. Today I am finally going to talk to you guys about my birth plan. I have been saying forever and ever in my weekly updates that I was going to get around to filming this, and I just never have. So I'm literally going to wing it today. I had no intention of filming this, but Esme is happily eating a yogurt watching cartoons, so I have like 5 minutes. For those of you that are new to my channel, I'll just give you a really brief update on my labor experience with my daughter. So my daughter is just over 2 now. She just turned 2 last month. And basically I had wanted an intervention-free natural birth experience. I was very fortunate in the sense that my doctor was like a pioneer in water birth in Malaysia, and he pretty much is the only person in Malaysia that I know of who offers a water birth in a hospital setting. So that was what we did. We attempted a water birth. Unfortunately, it didn't go as planned, and if you are curious about my water birth experience, I will leave a link below to my whole labor and delivery story so that you can go into more detail. But in the end, it ended up that I had to get an emergency C-section. Now, I really struggled with this because it was not part of the plan. I didn't even let myself think about a C-section. I was really quite nervous about it, and you'll see all of that in that video, so go check it out if you're curious. But I struggled with it postpartum, and it took me a while to really be at peace with that decision. Now, of course, I did end up with a very happy and healthy baby and a healthy mommy, but I wasn't the happy part, and that came later, I feel like, once the postpartum hormones kind of settled down and I had more time to reflect on my labor and just kind of work through it and get more at peace with it. One of the things that I struggled with in my first labor experience was that I got really, really tired. And so much so that I just couldn't even make it through the labor. I think the labor ended up being something like 22 hours, and I was donezo by the end of that. So that's something I'm trying to avoid this time around. A few good things in my perspective when I look at this next labor is that I did go into labor naturally on my own. I didn't have to be induced. I was able to dilate. It's just that my labor stalled towards the end. I did try to push her out. She just wouldn't come out and ended up going into a little bit of distress, which resulted in a C-section. So all of those things, once I reviewed them with my doctor, who this time around is the same doctor who delivered my daughter, he really let me know and made me feel confident in my decision to attempt a VBAC, in the sense that the reasons that we had to have a C-section the first time are not generally things that would repeat itself this time. The main reason that I had to have a C-section is that I was really tired and the baby was really tired and I couldn't get her out. So that kind of sucked. This time around, the plan is this. We are going to attempt to go into labor naturally, just like I did the first time. Esme was 3 days early, and so we shall see what this little guy, what his plans are. Another thing is that I am planning to have an epidural this time around. My reasoning on the epidural is that I feel like it's going to allow my body to relax enough and to rest enough during those painful contractions to allow me to birth my baby naturally. And by naturally, I mean vaginally. So that is my plan in that regard. To be honest, that's kind of it. That is the birth plan. Otherwise, being that I've done this once before and that I've had it go, to the full extent of an emergency type situation, I'm definitely prepared for whatever comes my way. Will I be sad if I have to end up with another C-section? A little bit of me will be sad, but not nearly as traumatized as the first time because I know what to expect this time around. One of the things, of course, that makes me slightly sad is that if it does take that route, in Malaysia, my husband is not allowed into the operating room during an emergency procedure. If it was an elective C-section, no problem, he could be in there, but because it's an emergency, he's not allowed, and I hate that. That's the part that drives me a little bit crazy. Like, I want him to see his baby being born, whether it's by a C-section or a natural delivery. So that's something that I just hold near and dear, and I want that experience. I want to be able to push him out and then hold him and have my husband hold him and just feel what that feels like, because I think this will be our last baby, and so that's just something that's really important to me. That said, if it has to go the route of a C-section, it's obviously for a good reason, and I will be at peace with it at that moment, and it will get easier and easier, as time goes on. Depending on baby positioning, that's one thing I didn't mention, is that Esme was facing up, and so that made her delivery just that much of a degree harder. This baby seems to kind of be floating around and facing down, facing up, so we'll just have to take as it comes during the labor then. But I mean, there's variables that you can't control. Like if I have to be induced, then that might change my mind. Like I might go for an elective C-section at that point. The kind of consensus on this labor experience is that I'm really just going to go with the flow. The big things is that I would like to have a vaginal birth. If that means I have time to get an epidural, then I will. You know, we've discussed it. If I come into the hospital and I'm at 8 centimeters, well, there's probably not a lot of time to get an epidural. So we just kind of have to go with the flow in that regard. You know, if I have to be induced, well, then the risk, there's more risks involved if I have to be induced, and so at that point I might consider an elective C-section. So it's just kind of, you just don't know, right? It's not one of these things you can fully plan out because there's so many things that are just variables you can't control. So that's kind of where I'm at with my birth plan. If you have any questions, because this video was rather rambly, then definitely leave them below and I'll try to get to them as I can. And that's about it. So wish me luck on my VBAC. I'm totally excited. And if you're planning a VBAC, then I wish you luck too, because it's no easy feat. If you happen to be expecting and you are planning your delivery, let me know if you're going to be attempting a VBAC too, because girls, we can support each other, you know? So I wish you luck if you're in a similar boat. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!